Okay, hello, welcome to Radical Decider. This is Alice and Corey, and today we're talking about self-concept. And I always say this, it's like a funny way of saying it, but the people who think self-concept is not important are the people who already have a good self-concept. So anyone who's like telling you self-concept not that important, they already have a good idea of themselves. Now, self-concept comes in all forms, right? Like, you have a self-concept about everything in your life. You have a self-concept about being a sister. You have a concept about being a friend. You have a self-concept about being a good person to other people. Like in your workplace, you have a self-concept of how you are in relation to other people that are in your workplace. There's self-concept for everything in your life. And then you have, along with all of those, you have like a total self-concept. So you have like a general idea of who you are. Okay, so you just want to be cognizant of what you're feeling in certain circumstances, so you can figure out which one of your self-concepts, in what area you want to work on them, or if it's just like a general self-concept about like being a good person, doing always making the best decisions, things like that. And then focus your attention on the areas that are weak for you. Like if you're great in the workplace, but then your relationships, you feel like all the guys that like you are cheaters or players, then like that's where you need to work on. Like, just figure out what area of your life doesn't make you feel good, right? And that's a great indicator. That's how you know that area needs help. That area needs work on your self-concept. So you got to pay attention to where you feel weak in what area you need work. So and then figure out some sort of beliefs. A lot of the clients that I work with, figure out some sort of new beliefs to implant. I didn't finish that sentence, but a lot of my clients that I work with they have a really poor self-concept when it comes to relationships, and their self-concept in every other area of their life is fine, right? Or great, like doing well, doesn't need that much work. So then we usually will say self-concept affirmations like, every guy that I want wants me. I always attract amazing guys. They're always so gentle with me and self-aware, and they are just like present with me, and they're all in with me. Because a lot of the self-concepts that I am around or work with are like not feeling accepted by their partner, or like not really wanted fully, right? Like the men come in, but then like they're not totally in. They're just kind of 1 foot out. They're just like not that invested. Like they might have other girls they're seeing or whatever. They don't want to single you out, right? They just want to have a bunch of girls and not be just yours. So that's one that I encounter quite a bit with clients, and that's a good one to work on. Like the fact that you're chosen and that you're the only one, that no one else is better than you, that you fill all their needs, they just want you. They just don't need all these other women around, right? They want to focus on you, and that's a great one that we use a lot in client sessions. Okay, so that's one thing. And then how do you know? The other thing I wanted to really touch on is, how do you know your self-concept's weak? And I kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but it's more like you realize where you don't feel great. Like, let's say, like you can basically take an assessment of yourself and sit down and write about, like, the first thing. This is what I recommend for clients usually if they don't know where their self-concept needs work, is you write down just different areas, like, okay, relationships, work, success, money, family, things like that. Just write down the categories and then write the first thing that comes to mind, like, my family loves me, or I'm a great worker. All my worker friends think I'm amazing and great at what I do. If the first thing that comes to your mind is something positive, then usually your self-concept about that subject does not need work, But it's something to be pay attention to, because these things can go under the radar, because sometimes you think like, because you're like, clients come to me and they're like, oh, my self-concept's great. I have a great self-concept. I don't even need to work on that. But they are thinking like they're a good person, or the family self-concept's fine, but then their relationship still needs work. So it's good to distinguish between the categories and then write the first thing that comes to mind, and that'll be a good way to figure out where you need help, right? And then whatever area is weak, like let's say the first thing when you write relationships down, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I never attract the right person, or everyone's always disrespectful to me, or like the last 3 relationships I was in, they all left me for someone else, you know, like that. If that's the first thing that comes to your mind, then that's where you need work. And you know, you just want to keep, you know, want to switch those around. Whatever comes to your mind that's negative about that area, you want to say the opposite, right? So if those things come up, you just say like, no, I'm always chosen. I'm the only one for the person that I want. No, never been cheated. You can revise and say, I've never been cheated on. Everyone's always faithful. I always have, you know, very faithful relationships. Everyone's always respectful towards me. Things like that. You want to switch that self-concept around and then like imprint that in, like this is your new version, right? You're just upgrading your version of yourself by, you know, implanting new thoughts, right? And the reprogramming process can take however long it takes for you, right? There's no set time period, and that's why like you can't guarantee, oh, it's going to be 3 days. You know, I hear people saying like, oh, turn everything around in 3 days. You might see shifts in 3 days. You might see little things start shifting, but everybody is individual, and how long it takes for you to implant things is all up to you. Okay, so there's no set time frame on that. Okay, so that's the self-concept portion, and hopefully that explains it a lot and helps you like know that it's important. And you can work on self-concept no matter what other thing you're doing. If you're using affirmations or whatever, even if you're using visuals, you can still have little you know, you're still implanting these right affirmations on self-concept, even if you're doing visuals on the actual specifics that you want to attract and manifest into your life. You still want to do self-concept affirmations if you realize there's an area of your life that needs work, or like, you know, that you need to upgrade to better self-concept about. And then the other, like the last point, I'm not going to make this video too long, but the last point is I want to say that like whatever you feel about yourself, it might feel delusional to like think a different way about yourself at first, right? Because you've been thinking this way for so long. And no, I don't want to limit you. Like, this is not supposed to be a limiting belief, but it can feel like a delusion. And I want to leave you with this point, okay? Because everyone's worried about being delusional. Don't worry about being delusional, because everybody is delusional. Like, literally, if you have beliefs that are different from someone else, you can seem delusional to that person, right? And that if that person believes something totally different than you, like, you're like, oh, that seems like a delusion too. Like, you can think others are delusional and they can think you're delusional, because every single belief is its own delusion. You know what I mean? If you have a different belief than someone else, then that's a delusion, like a form of delusion. Like, we use delusion in a negative way too in this society, like, oh, you're delusional, like you're crazy. But it's really like every single belief is a form of delusion. So if you feel delusional at first, like, just get used to that feeling, because anytime you're putting in a new thought pattern or you're upgrading to a new personal reality in some way, you know, Joe Dispenza talks about personal reality. Your personality changes dependent on your personal reality, right? Like, you literally shift and upgrade your person. Your form of person, your idea of yourself is like different. So anytime you're doing that, it's going to feel like a delusion at first. It's just period, point blank, that's it. Like, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel different. It's going to feel awkward, but you're going to get there. Eventually, it's not going to feel delusional anymore. It's going to feel like the new you. It's not going to feel too wacky. But the reality is, everything's a delusion. Even like the age, you can take this to an extreme degree. I mean, this channel's called Radical Decider, so we're kind of extreme over here, but like, you can take it to an extreme degree and think like, Even people that think they're like my mom was like putting limits on herself because she was 60. She was saying she was 60. Right? She's like putting limits on herself, like, oh, I'm 60, so I can't like lift heavy. I got to lift lighter weights or whatever. She was saying something like that. And I was like, even age is a delusion, because time is like a construct, okay? So literally every single thing, even if it feels real, is delusion, is a form of delusion if it's something you're just believing in your head, okay? So please get that in your head. If anything feels delusional at first, it's natural, it's normal, it's meant to be that way, and just keep going until it feels more natural, because everything's going to feel like a delusion at first, okay? All right, so hopefully this video helped, and see you next time. Oh yeah, also if you need coaching, I'm like a mind life coach is what I call it, and it's like using the mind to transform your life. So mind life coaching is, information's down below, and a lot of times just people need help with their limiting beliefs, like figuring out what that is, and kind of like reconstructing how they go about things, and just reorganizing around getting what they really want in their life, you know, and getting what you want. So anyway, if that interests you, again, you don't need it, because you can always learn from these videos and everything's here to do. But a lot of people, just helps to have like someone guiding you sometimes. So information's below if that's something that interests you. Okay, so relax, rejoice, and know that it's done. See you guys tomorrow.